When you were first beginning, I had so much going on. I felt like the little girl in the car that you were describing, with all of the chaos around her, thinking, I know who I am. I know the empire that I have inside of me. I feel the life of my dream, and there's so much chaos around me. And I really want to thank you, because I am feeling myself today moving up and coming more and more into alignment with my dream, and more into alignment with my knowing. And
before you go further, if you don't mind, we would like to have everyone benefit from the very good words that you've offered here, because we just want to speak something that feels so obvious to us, and we want you to feel how obvious it doesn't or does feel to you, and then we want you to want it to be obvious to you too. And that is, it's such a simple thing. My life caused me to want this, and here I am, and all I have to do is go there. It's so simple. Well, what is over there? What's it like over there? What would it feel like over there? What does this feel like? Well, I can describe it. It feels fun. It feels fulfilling. It feels satisfying. It feels stimulating. That's all there is. It's just, here's where I want to be, and here's where I am. That's it. So what complicates it? What causes there to be more than these two vibrational points of relativity? How did it get complicated? Jerry and Esther had an interesting experience, because with this new book, the publisher of the book called them and said, you know, the first book missed the New York Times bestseller list by fewer books than you sold through your warehouse. So what do you think about sending out an email announcement, just asking people to buy the book from Amazon or from one of the distributors that is counted? And Jerry and Esther looked at each other and they said, we've never asked anybody to do anything. We've just allowed it to be. But this publisher said, oh, it'll be very beneficial, because once that happens, then you're on a different list. And then bookstores that usually don't even handle your book want it. And it just makes the distribution process simpler once you are on that list. And so Jerry and Esther said, all right. And then they sort of got caught up in the fun of it. It was fun to be number one at Amazon for a little bit. And it was fun to be, of all of the books in the world, there was a list of 150 of all books, fiction, nonfiction, hardback, softcover, all of the books. And they were 145 of all of the books in the world. And it was sort of fun watching those lists. And then Esther found herself getting up in the morning and clicking on that link to see where they were on the list. And then she started noticing when they weren't number one on the list, who was number one on the list. And then one day, Jerry said to us as they were driving, Abraham, why aren't we feeling so good? And we said, because you have left competition and the feeling of competition behind you long ago. You have established your relationship between who you are and what you want. And anything that happens around that is just fine. You've allowed law of attraction to do its work, but you haven't tried to consider your work in relationship to that work. That has not been what you've done. And so you have introduced chaos into your vibration. And as soon as they heard it, they both began to laugh, because of course that's what it was. And it isn't that they felt competitive. They are wishing everyone well who is having the experience. They are not wanting to get the number one spot and hold it for themselves. It wasn't that at all. It was the simple thing of trying to introduce into their vibration. In other words, when they consider their book, and they think about their book, and they think about how it felt for the book to flow, and they think about someone reading the book and someone benefiting from the book, everything's in perfect alignment with them. But when they think about their book in relationship to that book, and that book, and that book, and that book, now they're introducing all of that vibration into what was a clear space, and now it is no longer a clear space. That's what introduces chaos. It's putting your nose in other people's business, you see. When all you're thinking about is the relationship between where I am and where I want to be, it is such a clear distance. Everything that everyone wants, no matter what it is, you want it because you think you would feel better. And do you know what feeling better is? Feeling better is alignment. Feeling better is being lined up with you, period. It isn't about anything else. It's not about somebody else doing something. It's not about somebody else thinking something. It isn't about how many books you sell or how well your music is received or how many people buy your products from your business. It isn't about anything except my energy and the relationship of my energy to my energy, over which I have absolute control. So, in a day, you can think about how I want to feel and what my dream is and where I am in relationship to it. And you can talk and 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 talk with one simple intention of finding that vibe that feels good to you. Or you can watch television and you can think about what everybody else is doing, and you can watch all the other lists, and you can listen to what's happening in all the other countries. You can listen to people making decisions about things that you have no say, and you can debate over the rightness and the wrongness of their decisions. And then you can remember what your mother said about this, and you can compare your child rearing skills with your mother's child rearing skills. And then you can remember how she argued with her sister about how to raise children. And then you can think about your friend and how your friend raises her children. And then you can think about those people and those people and those people in other countries, and pretty soon you've got chaos in your vibration, and you know what? You deserve it. Where when you say, hey, I have the ability to focus on a myriad of things, and some of them feel good when I do and some of them don't. Let me see, just through trial and error, which ones feel good. Esther will lie in her bed sometimes and think about something that's going on with her mother, and she can just feel a sort of knot welling up within her because there are things that are outside of her control. And then she's got a choice. She can stay there and focus upon those things that are outside of her control, or she can focus upon something that is within her control. And the knot goes away, you see. It's just a matter of caring how you feel, and then just practice thinking. Practice thinking. Practice thinking with your newfound knowledge that how I feel matters. So, we are eager to talk with you today about anything that is important to you. It is our desire to assist you in giving yourself permission to feel however you feel. We want you to know that as the teacher at the head of your class today, if you are experiencing joy, we give you the academic grade equivalent of an A. We also want you to know that if you are experiencing depression or fear, we give you the grade equivalent of an A minus. Just because we want you to know there's room for improvement. But we would not give you an F for depression, and a D for anger, and a C for frustration. What we want you to give yourself is credit for acknowledging how I feel, and even more important, a big pat on the back for the slightest improvement in the way you feel. If you can get hold of the essence of that, if you can say to your friends, I am so angry today, you might want to stay clear, but don't feel uncomfortable about it because I'm doing it on purpose. Because it is so much better than where I was, and I'm going to beat the drum of this for a day or two until I'm sure I'm stable here and won't slip back into depression. When you deliberately choose a thought, deliberately to induce an improved emotion, now you're hearing the call of Source. And when you hear the call of Source, and you keep making that same effort, reaching for a thought that feels a little better, reaching for a thought that feels a little better, reaching for a thought that feels a little better, before you know it, you have closed that gap. And you are then in the vibrational proximity where you are now on this subject emitting one signal. And guess what happens when you offer a clear signal? Now, law of attraction is responding to that powerful signal, and the speed with which your manifestation occurs will boggle the minds of those who know not about law of attraction, will boggle the minds of those who do not know about the emotional scale. It would boggle the minds of those who do not understand your deliberate trek up the emotional scale, from depression to revenge, to rage, to anger, to frustration, to pessimism, to hoping, to optimism, to believing, to knowing. to being that powerful, pure, positive energy source that is you. You never stop being what you would call from your physical format, God force in a physical body. You never stop becoming that. But sometimes you get your tuner out of whack enough that you can't hear the signal. And when your tuner's out of whack, law of attraction is responding to that scattered vibration, and the manifestations of your life reflect your scattered vibration. And then, you know what most of you do? You look at the results, the manifestational response to your scattered vibration, and then you conclude your value based on those manifestations. How screwy is that? And that's the reason that so many people want to sort everything into piles and say there's a good pile and there's a bad pile. And we've got to find a way of controlling the piles. We've got to find a way of controlling the circumstances, because after all, when I look at this circumstance that makes me feel good, I feel good. And when I look at this circumstance that makes me feel bad, I feel bad. So shouldn't we make laws and get enforcers? Shouldn't we do everything in our power to control the conditions? And we say, how's it working out? You cannot control conditions, but you can control the vibrational relationship between you and you. And when you do, law of attraction must yield to you the manifestational evidence of your alignment. And so what this message is about is, we are not giving you this information because we want you to run up the emotional scale in order to manifest all the things you want, although that will happen. And we want you to manifest all of those things. We're not saying that we don't. But what we are really interested in, you coming away from this gathering understanding, is that as you move up this emotional scale, as you close that gap between where you are and that which the larger part of you has already become, it is the experience of closing that gap that really is the delicious nature of life. That's where it's at. Isn't it a wonderful thing to have life cause you to want something that you don't quite have, but that you know is possible? And then isn't it fun for you to work to bring yourself into vibrational alignment, expectation, and belief of same? And isn't it exhilarating as you improve your vibrational relationship to then watch universal forces responding to the improvement in your vibration? Isn't it fun to watch manifestation flowing in response as you are moving up this vibrational scale into alignment with who you are? And then isn't it exhilarating beyond description to finally reach that place where you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are the achiever of such? And then isn't it fun to watch it manifest? But isn't the exhilaration all about that bringing it into place? You know, we watch artists and sculptors all of the time creating their magnificent works of art, and we've got to tell you, when they are most alive is when they've got their hands in the clay. When they're most alive is when they are in the process of helping their creation to become. And once it's finished, they say, yeah, there it is. And you say, oh, you must be so excited about that. And they say, yeah, pretty much. What they're really excited about is what's coming next. In other words, the manifestation, whoopee, for a minute, but not for much more. And so we want you to understand that with each creation comes a new platform, which gives opportunity to a whole new crack. And after all, life is about living in the crack, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't that really what it's about? Do you know that if you had all of the stuff that you've been wanting for, if it were all there right now, you would be so placid? And it is so wonderful for us to see you, you greedy little buggers. Selfish to the true core of your being. True to the nature of the evolving eternal spirit that is you, always wanting to stand in your environment and give birth to another new idea. Jerry watches Esther. There's not an hour that goes by that she doesn't improve something somewhere in their life. She's augmenting something constantly. She cannot stand still. He'll say, where is it now? Oh, it's in the new improved place. Just ask me. I know where everything is, she'll say. And he does the same thing. In other words, life is about the evolution of your being.